Hey, this is Evan Markatz, dating and relationship coach for smart, successful women who have everything but the guy. This is a Love You podcast, a place where you can learn everything there is to know about dating, relationships, sex, and men from a man's point of view, so you can find a happier, healthier relationship yourself. We're going to raise your standards for men. We're going to make sure you feel safe, heard, and understood. I'm going to throw on every catchphrase that I've ever thrown around so that eventually you'll get the message. Love is available to you. You just have to seek it out and make better choices with men. And that's what we're here to do. Today's episode is about how to stop obsessing over a guy. I'm going to give you 6 ways to stop obsessing over a guy. Before we dive into that, if you are a regular listener of the Love You podcast and you enjoy what we give you here for free, please give us a positive review, subscribe on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, share it with a friend who needs it. If you are obsessing over a guy, trying to get over a guy, or have a friend who's doing so, today's episode is for you. Without further ado, let's dive right in. 6 ways to stop obsessing over a guy. Now let's first talk about the concept of obsession and how destructive obsession is for almost any aspect of life. I mean, I guess if you're going to be a world-class tennis player, you probably have to be obsessed with it to the expense of everything else in your life. Even that has some potential downstream side effects when you become the best in the world at tennis, but you aren't good at anything else, and you haven't built real relationships, and you don't have balance, and you don't have a normal love life. I mean, I think I'm an everything in moderation guy, so I have empathy for people who feel obsessed. I know when I was younger, there were women that I would meet that I would get obsessed with, not in a stalker way, but in the, oh my God, this is too good to be true. I can't stop thinking about her. I'm really distracted at work type thing. I also know that when I was dumped by some special girlfriends of mine in my late 20s and early 30s, I had a hard time getting over it. It took me months to get far enough away from it that I could break free of those feelings that I had. So when I'm talking about obsession, I'm certainly not talking from some sort of pedestal, but I am talking about it from a distance as a thing that is unhealthy and used to happen. Another word for this is limerence, to be so unhealthily obsessed with someone that you can't really think straight. And we've done old episodes. You could search Evan Markatz and limerence in our archives and find something about that. But if you find yourself preoccupied with a guy in an unhealthy fashion, here are 6 tips that might help you recenter. First tip is to focus on yourself, which again is not terribly surprising if you go to any therapist who does cognitive behavioral therapy and you are consumed with obsessive thoughts, whether they are obsessive thoughts of struggles at work, or obsessive thoughts of suicidal ideation, or obsessive thoughts of, why you're being shunned by your family, whatever it is, you need to get out of your head a little bit and find other things that give you pleasure and give you joy. Otherwise, this internal dialogue will consume you. So I'm not here to tell you what your passions are. I can't tell you exactly how you should be keeping busy. I will tell you that most recently, not that I'm obsessed, I have taken up pickleball lessons at the local Calabasas Pickleball Club. I have continued to go to my Monday night trivia nights in Hollywood. My wife and I are extremely social, and we always have get-togethers in our backyard, and I'm going to more and more conferences and meeting more people in real life because I can't meet too many people in my home environment. So that is the thing that I'm doing to rediscover my connection with people as an extrovert. My guess is that if you are obsessed with a guy and your hobby is cyber stalking him on your phone, you need to put down your phone, really need to put down your phone and reconnect with the things that actually do bring you joy, whether it's friends or family or your pet or nature or hobbies or passions or travel, anything that doesn't involve this guy. Number 2 is to limit contact. This could be played both ways. If you're obsessed with a guy you're dating, versus the guy that got away that you still hold a torch for. Those are two different things. But if you're obsessed with the guy you're dating, let's talk about that for a second, because that too is unhealthy. Hey, you've got the guy, but you're putting him up on such a pedestal that you're setting yourself up for a real fall when you're obsessed with him, when you think he walks on water, when you think this is the one, this is the best I could do, I'll be devastated if he ever leaves. That's certainly not love you. That's certainly not you are the CEO of your love life. That makes you into a very, very needy intern. And so while it's fun to dive into a new relationship, especially if you're both really interested in each other, I think it's often constructive to pump the brakes a little bit early in a relationship, right? If I have all these sayings, if you are driving 90 miles an hour, you're either going to crash your car or miss the exit. Relationships should, if they're going well, should go a comfortable 65 miles an hour. If you're going much faster than that, there is a good chance you're missing something in your limerence haze. And so that is one thread of advice, is if it's a couple of weeks in and you're saying I love you and you're talking about a future and you're seeing each other 6 days a week and you've already got a drawer in his place, that's a little bit too much too soon. It's actually like the relationship I just talked about, Nobody Wants This. That whole thing I think took place in less than a month, and it was really fast. And if I were a betting man, I don't think that relationship is going to last because it's moving too fast. Another story for another day. More likely, your obsession is someone who you can't have. It's an unrequited love. And so the cure for this is the same as the cure for quitting smoking. And no, that's not a nicotine patch. It means that you actually have to quit cold turkey. You have to block him on your phone. You have to unfriend him on social and stop looking at him and stop looking at him through other people's accounts. Every second you spend looking back at the wrong guy is a second that you're not looking forward for the potential for the right guy. If this guy indeed was the right guy, you would still be with him rather than obsessing about him. Right? He would know that you're the one. A one-sided unrequited relationship is just not a healthy one. So you have to have the courage to say, nope, I'm putting on the blinders. I'm not going to look at what he's doing. I'm not going to look at where he's going. I'm not going to look at who he's seeing. I'm not going to look through old pictures. I think it becomes very much like he's a drug and you need to quit the drugs. It's not just weaning off of them. You actually need to quit cold turkey. Number 3, challenge your thoughts. We've got sayings in Love You. Boy, do we have sayings in Love You. And one of my favorite ones is that no man is real until he's your boyfriend. He is just hope, fantasy, projection, and potential. Now, this is when we're obsessed with a new guy, not an ex-boyfriend. We have to toggle back and forth between the two. But I see a lot of women who I work with who they've been online, they see a lot of losers, they're generally uninspired. Suddenly some dude comes along and he seems like, oh, this is why I was doing it. I've been there. I remember once upon a time signing up for a dating site specifically to meet a woman. I found her profile so attractive and I wrote her a long email back in the day when there were emails telling her that, and she was pretty freaked out and didn't respond to me. So such is the cost of obsession. So you really want to challenge your thoughts. Are you creating something out of nothing? Is this guy really who you think he is? Or is this a story you created in your head that involves hope, fantasy, projection, and potential? Right? You've turned this guy mentally into your husband, but you've only read his profile, but you've only gone out with him once, you've only texted a few times, you've only had one date, one kiss. That's pretty normal for people to do that, but just because it's normal doesn't mean it's healthy. So we need to challenge our thoughts on that and see, are we living in a fantasy world or is this reality? Is he on the same page as I am, or am I far ahead of where he is emotionally? And you know it when you see it happen the other way. When some guy meets you and he gets excited and obsessed with you and he starts to talk about a future and love before you do, and it seems a little much and it causes you to pull away. So not only is it untrue when you get fixated on a total stranger, it also happens to be ineffective. It doesn't work very well. people don't like people who are obsessed with them for the most part. So whatever you can do to remind yourself to calm down and see things clearly, right? And that the man that you're going to be with is a guy who shows up in a certain way and makes you feel a certain way consistently over time, right? And that time, according to me, is generally closer to 2 years. So to get all excited about someone when we don't really know whether he's husband material for potentially 2 years seems premature, like a waste of energy. And again, if my logic is not working, ask yourself, how many guys in your life have you been excited about at this level, what we call obsession? How many of them are your current devoted partner? That's how I know that the obsession can tell you a lie, right? It's the deception of passion. So we need to reframe our thoughts and talk ourselves down, or have other people talk us down, because it's not healthy to get so singularly fixated on potential when there's a pretty long road. Metaphor that I often use is, you can't read the last page of the book. When you're dating, you're trying to flip to the end. Does this thing have a happy ending? And there's a whole bunch of pages. There's 400 pages before you really know what happens. So however you look at it, if you are singularly obsessed with someone, it is generally going to backfire on you. He's either going to fall off the pedestal when you discover he's a normal human being, or worse, a highly flawed human being that you didn't see, right? Or those things are not going to be reciprocated. Those feelings are not going to be reciprocated. Number 4, set healthy boundaries. And so I've gone through this for 20 years with clients. I know it might sound redundant, but these are all different ways of attacking the same problem, which is the problem of how to stop obsessing over a guy. So when someone is telling me, Evan, I'm so sad. Things were going so well with this guy. He came on really hot and heavy. The texting, and then like the first 2 dates, and then suddenly he started to pull away, and I'm wondering what I did wrong, and I'm trying to get him back. And I'll always ask, do you remember what your life was like a month ago? Like a month ago, this guy that you're obsessed with, who's making you so sad because you haven't heard from him in 3 days. A month ago, this guy didn't exist. And you were a perfectly functional, happy person. So why let some rando who you barely know have this much say, have this much control, have this much power over your joy, over your self-esteem, right? This is part of the no man is real credo, right? We're banking on excitement. We're banking on lust, limerence. We're not banking on anything real. It's like banking on crypto. It's really taking like a wild risk on something where we don't really know where it's going to go. And it feels good. That's the thing about the obsession. It strangely feels good to be that excited about someone or something. The problem, of course, is that it doesn't always have a payoff. Your self-worth, if your obsession is coming at the expense of your own self-esteem, because the reciprocation is there, the escalation is not there, the feelings and pace aren't matched, really, don't let some guy dictate how you feel about yourself or about your life. It's very different than I'm, divorcing a man after 20 years to get obsessed with someone and have them devastate you. And again, I know this because I went through this. I was obsessed with someone, deeply in love, saying I love you within 2 weeks. 3 months later, she dumped me. I didn't recover for about 6 months after that. This is my early 30s. So again, I don't want to sound like I'm being cold or clinical about it. It's just something that's easy to diagnose from the outside, a lot harder to control when you're on the inside. Number 5, to stop obsessing about your boyfriend, shift your focus to the future. What that means is you are an autonomous being. You exist outside of him. Start thinking about what you want your future to look like without him, where your plans are focused on you, your desire for independence, your desire for travel, your next career goal, the next thing you're going to do with your best girlfriend or your kids. And imagine how freeing it'll be to not be obsessed. I know it's not always easy to talk yourself out of it, but there's a tyranny when you're obsessed. The tyranny of your mind, right? Where every stray thought loops back to this guy, right? Either the guy you're seeing or the guy who got away. And it's just not healthy. So just imagine what it would be like to revert to the before times where he didn't exist. You lived your life. You were on the lookout for love, right? And we didn't get so stuck and anchored on this one person who, no matter what I do, no matter what you do, we don't get to control. There's nothing in the universe that can make him either turn into the man you want him to be, or to be interested in you, or to be committed to you if he's not already. And all the get your ex back bullshit. No, again, imagine some guy who is obsessed with you, who tried to talk you into going out with him, even when your head wasn't there. It would never, ever work, right? And so that's the cold logic of, you need to imagine what your life is going to look like without him and fill that life up with stuff that you enjoy. And then the right guy will come in at the right time, and you're going to be a better place, because no one's the best self when they've made someone out to be more important than they are. You need to be the center of your world, not this mythical creature you created in your mind. And then finally, number 6, talk to somebody. It's hard to do some of this alone. I know I'm giving you theory. I'm giving you the things that one would say to you if they were to talk to you on the phone. But there are professionals for this. There are cognitive behavioral therapists. There are social workers, MFTs, marriage counselors, all sorts of people who could walk you through this. And then, of course, there are dating coaches who specialize in this very thing. So if you're struggling and you don't know what to do, you don't know where to begin, and you're just stuck, and you've been stuck for too long, and it's causing you to not be able to move on with your life, don't be shy about reaching out. This is, all in a day's work. You're not alone. You join a community of women in love you who've been through this process, have been exactly where you are, and understand that. And my job is to hold your hand through this process, get you out of this darkness, looking forward at your life, so that you are ready to receive, so that you are ready to date, you are ready to raise your standards and be with a guy who doesn't cause you to be obsessed, because obsession is the opposite of the comfort feeling of being in love, right? You associate maybe love with obsession, but love is much more peaceful. It's much more relaxed. It doesn't produce this level of anxiety, because you never have to wonder where you stand with the person that you love. That's where you want to be. So, without further ado, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share this with your friends, especially if someone's obsessed. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, etc. And if you're not already on my mailing list, and if some of these words are inspiring about the possibility of actually getting happy and operating from a place of confidence and abundance and learning to raise your standards, I have a new mini course. It's called Raise Your Relationship Standards, 7 Simple Steps to Finding a Quality Commitment-Oriented Man. All you got to do is go to evanmarckatz.com/7 steps, put in your name and email to access my free mini course. I hope you enjoy it. I love you. I appreciate you. I look forward to our next conversation here on the Love You podcast. Bye-bye.